Hi everyone! If you don't know me already, my name is Anna and in today's video I'm going to be sharing with you how I make an Instagram makeup tutorial. I've gotten so many requests from my followers on Instagram to make a video like this, and also I think that on almost a daily basis I get messages from people who ask me what type of backdrop I use, what type of camera I use, how I edit my videos, if I have any tips and tricks for them. So therefore today I sat down and I gathered all of my thoughts and some tips and tricks which I want to share with you in this video. With that being said, I don't think that I'm like an expert in making Instagram tutorials. I've been doing this for almost 2 years now, and everything that I do I have learned through experience, and this is just my way of doing it and I really enjoy doing it this way. But if you have any tips and tricks for me, of course you can always leave them down in the comments. But this is not me saying that I am totally right and everything that you've been doing is wrong, because it's not. This is just my way of doing it. So with that being said, let's just jump into today's video. I just filmed an Instagram tutorial of this look, and in a few minutes I'm going to be going through this video footage with you and edit an Instagram tutorial together. But before starting with it, I just want to speak about my setup which I have and some tips and tricks which I have before even starting with filming. When I started 2 years ago, I only had a very old handheld camera or like video recorder. It was sitting on top of a stack of school books which I have on my desk in front of a window which only had natural daylight for 30 minutes a day. That is how your girl started out with. So just remember that. You don't need to have a very fancy and big and expensive setup to start making Instagram tutorials. Honestly, you can just do it on your phone, borrow a friend's phone, try borrowing a camera from someone else and see how you're liking and enjoying this and this whole creative process of making a video. Don't think because you don't have a fancy setup that you are not able to do this, because you can. First up, I have my backdrop. This is one of those like professional photographer white backdrops. It is like a very big roll of white paper which I put down on 2 big stands, which I have one here and one there, so I can change it up. I also have a black background, but I don't really like that. I more like to have my Instagram feed with like a white background because I think that it looks more clean, and I also think that having the white backdrop, it also complements the makeup which I'm doing better. But you don't need one of these. I also really like it whenever I see Instagram tutorials of people who are just sitting like in a corner of their room which they have like dressed cute and nicely with some plants or some little decorative pieces. That is also a way in which you can start out with. Or if you're looking to go up a little step, I've also seen a lot of people using clothing racks and taking fabric and putting that over the clothing rack and kind of tightening it with clamps, and that way you can also really easily change your backdrop because you're just using fabric and not these really big rolls of white paper. Now I want to talk to you about my camera. As I mentioned previously, when I first started doing Instagram tutorials, I was just using a very old handheld video recorder which was on a stack of school books in front of a window. That was it. The one thing which really annoyed me about that handheld camera was that the white balance was constantly off. If I would zoom in, the image would become very blue. Bleh! The image would become really blue, and when I would zoom out, the white balance would be normal again, and that was something which really annoyed me during like my first few Instagram tutorials. If you like scroll back on my Instagram feed and you check out some of those old videos, you would definitely see what I'm talking about. I don't think a lot of people notice it at that moment just because I wasn't really emphasizing it and I wasn't speaking out about the things which annoyed me about my own tutorials. But that was something which really bothered me, and I tried fixing that with getting more lights up in my room and not filming with natural daylight, but that didn't really help. So eventually I invested into a camera and I got a Canon 70D camera. And this has honestly been one of like the biggest investments, and it has really shown a big difference in my videos and the quality of my videos. But also with seeing the quality improve, I also have to thank that to the lighting setup which I have. When I first started filming, I was using the natural daylight, and then I got a ring light because I saw like everyone who does beauty videos use a ring light. So I was like, if I buy that one, my lighting will be okay. It wasn't yet. but it did help out a lot. That way I was able to also film at night when I had like long days at school and I didn't make it home in time for my 30 window time frame of having good natural daylight. I could at least film at night or earlier in the morning, so that was really nice. But I also then again had the problem with having an image that was too blue, so therefore I invested into more lighting, and those are the two softboxes which are standing to the side of me. Another thing which I have in my filming setup is a monitor. This is like not really like a fancy monitor like you would think. I use my laptop as my monitor. I have a little cable which goes from my camera into my MacBook Pro, and with that I have Canon EOS installed, and then I have the image on my actual laptop. So I have my monitor standing right in front of me right here so that I can see the image, and whenever I am filming, that way I can check if I am still in the middle of the image, and that is like a really big help for me. So that is like the setup which I have. I have my camera, I have my ring light behind my camera, I have my two softboxes to the side, and in the back I have my white backdrop. And I can't stress this enough, I'm really lucky with the setup which I have. And if you want to get into making beauty videos, don't get discouraged by everyone having very fancy cameras. If you don't have one, you honestly don't need it, because your passion and your makeup skills will get you to the point where people will notice your makeup and your art and your love for makeup. So don't get discouraged and just try it out and start making a video on just a regular old phone. And if I have my setup all completed, I then start with my filming ritual. Yes, I have kind of like a ritual which I like to do before filming. It's kind of weird that I have it, but it does kind of like get me ready to start filming. So when I start filming, I always like to dress up a bit nicer. I like to have a slick bun just because I think that that complements makeup better in some sort of way. That's just me. I just like the aesthetic of it more. I also like to put on something like a necklace. If you can put on earrings, do that as well. That would be like super cute. And I always like to wear a white top. I like to wear a white top just because, once again, I think that it complements the makeup the best. I don't think that today, if I will be wearing like a pink top, the makeup would look the best right now. So that is like the thing which I like to do before filming. I also like to wash and prime my face before and just let it soak in a bit. So if I wash my face, I would wait like about 15 minutes before I start filming, just so that I can give like the moisturizers and the lotions some time to sink into my skin. And then I also like to, of course, wet a beauty blender so I don't have to get up, crawl behind all of the lights which are standing right there to work my beauty blender. And I also like to grab a drink, because in front of like these lights it gets so warm and you get really dehydrated. So therefore having a drink with you would be a really good idea. It's empty. Never mind. And also I think like what is a key to making Instagram tutorials is being dressed nice from like the chest up. And other than that, you're just wearing sweatpants and fluffy old socks. Else you're not really a Instagram beauty person if you don't do that. Honestly, everyone has it. So when I've kind of like finished my ritual, it's time for me to start filming. And one tip which I have for filming is sitting in the middle of your image. Instagram does allow for us to upload vertical and horizontal and square images, but I am a very personal big fan of having a square image, just because I think that vertical gets my head like too much in the image, and horizontal kind of takes away the impact of the makeup. So therefore I like to have square tutorials, but that does require for me to sit in the middle of the image at all times. And that is something which I definitely struggled with a whole lot in the beginning of making Instagram tutorials, but it's just honestly what you learn through time, and through doing it a lot you will mess up a lot of tutorials just because you're not sitting in the middle of the image and you just get kind of like lost in your mirror doing your own makeup. That's just like the honest truth, but you will get into it. And one thing which really helped me is having my monitor, because that way when I'm blending I can just kind of like stop and check, I'm still in the middle, okay, and then I can just go on with my makeup. So having a monitor definitely helped me a lot with that. And honestly the rest is just exercise. I think that like the rest of the tips and tricks which I have are all in the editing part. For the filming I legit just have sit in the middle and that's it, just do your makeup after that. But I think that like the key, especially of my style of videos, lies in the editing. So therefore right now I'm going to take you guys up to my room, because I have like my couch right there in which I like to sit at when I'm editing, just so I can really relax and have fun while still doing it. So I will take you guys upstairs right now, we will go through it, and now we're on to the portion of editing the Instagram tutorial. As for a laptop, I have a MacBook Pro 2018 edition. I don't have this laptop just for the solely purpose of making Instagram tutorials. I actually have this just because I'm still in school. I study bioinformatics and I work part-time as well as a web developer. And for that, having a MacBook Pro is just key, and it helps me so much just with my job and my school. And as for editing software, I like to use iMovie. I would really like to own Final Cut Pro, but it's like 200 euros or something, and that's just so freaking expensive. I have tried editing with the Adobe Premiere software, but that is really difficult. I followed a couple of tutorials on it, and it was just so difficult that I didn't really understand it, and I couldn't edit my videos quick enough for my liking. So therefore I stepped away from it again, but I would really like to learn it in the future if that might be possible. But for now I'm just still sticking to iMovie. iMovie does have some limitations, like when I'm making a swatch video I would really like to have the name of the product in screen, but iMovie only has like a couple of like titles right here which are all really ugly, and I don't want to use those. So that is something which I really dislike about iMovie, but that is just the only thing, and just editing is really quick with this program. So I just uploaded all of the footage from my camera onto my iMovie, and I imported like the clips which I want in the Instagram tutorial onto my timeline. So now I'm just going to be removing the audio from that, and then I'm going to be placing my marker at the very beginning of the tutorial, and I'm zooming in a bit. As you can see, always in like the beginning of filming I have like these very random shots in which I'm trying to position myself, and I try to get everything together, and that is when we can finally start. Here I finally arrived to the part where I'm actually applying eyeshadows. A thing which I like as like a guide rule for my tutorials is to have clips that are between 0.6 seconds and 0.8 seconds long. That is just because of my philosophy and the way which I look at other people's tutorials. If I see a tutorial and I see someone blending their eyeshadow for 3 seconds straight, I'm already bored. I know you're going to be blending that eyeshadow. Instagram tutorials are not very educational in that sense. They're just to show you what you did, what color you applied, and then you're moving on. That is also the guideline which I like to implement into my tutorials. I like to have it quick and fast, and that people keep it moving, because you don't have all day to sit around watching other people blend their eyeshadows. You also have your own life. So that is why I try to keep mine as short as possible actually. So one thing which I really like to do, as you can see, I just put the brush in my crease and then I am patting over it, and then you can see the pigment. That is like already enough for people to know that I'm going to be applying that green eyeshadow in my crease. That's it. So right now I'm just going to be splitting the image, and I'm going to be removing all of the previous footage. And I'm going to let it run. I'm going to let it stop. I'm splitting it again, and this clip is right now 0.8 seconds long. When you're editing right now, clips can be longer, like have clips of 1.7 seconds and everything. It doesn't really matter. At the end I always run through like the entire tutorial. I think about probably like 20 times to try and cut parts from it to make it even shorter and even quicker. So right now if it's a bit longer it really doesn't matter, because we're going to be going over it a couple of times. So now that I have like my initial frame of me applying the eyeshadows, I'm just going to be skipping through like my timeline a bit more to see where I'm once again like applying it, and then I am taking a small section from that part again and just going further. Here I'm blending a bit, that might be interesting. Next, here I'm dragging it outwards, that is interesting to know. But have it short, have it quick. As you can see, these clips are 0.8 seconds, 0.6, 0.8 and 0.8. Have it really quick and fast. So right now I'm just going to be running through this entire tutorial, taking small clips and bits from every part. And as you can see, I'm just really quickly like running through the tutorial. This is like a clip which is 1.3 seconds long. That is actually too long for my preference. But I'm just going to be leaving it at 1.3 seconds for now. Because like I said, at the end I'm going to be running through it again. And I'm going to be taking clips out, making certain clips shorter. Just don't be too harsh on yourself, because you have all the time in the world to actually make a video for Instagram. One thing which I also have as a tip, because your clips are really short, you don't want to waste 0.3 or 0.4 seconds on you actually getting the brush onto your skin. Like here, I am still bringing the brush onto my crease. That is like 0.7 seconds wasted. If you're going to be having a frame like this, make sure that you go onto where you put the brush actually onto your skin and split the image there. Because that way it will seem quicker to the person who's actually viewing the tutorial, and they don't want to sit around until you have the brush finally on your eye. As you can also notice from the footage, when I am applying an eyeshadow to my left eye, which is not really the side which is showing off the most in my position of filming, I always try and get the initial application of eyeshadow and the first part of blending onto the frame. But then when I start going in and actually really blending it, I would just like move my head into not so a nice angle for Instagram, and then I would blend it. So just make sure that when you're filming it, that you have like a small portion, properly in frame, and then you can just move on to blending it really close up to your mirror, because I also can't sit straight the whole time when I'm doing my makeup. And as for like showing the actual eyeshadows in the tutorial, I also try to keep those clips really short, just because I think that if someone is really interested in seeing the color of an eyeshadow better, they can always check out the product image like through Google or on the brand's Instagram. I don't think that a tutorial really needs to show off the color that much. Now I am taking all of my product shots and I'm cutting them out. And now I'm going to be placing them where they belong, in front of like the frame where I actually start using those products. Now that I have the chronological order of the video as I want it to be, I'm really lucky that it is only 43 seconds long and I don't have to struggle with the very known phenomenon of getting it into a 1-minute tutorial, but that is just because I'm only showing the eyeshadows in this tutorial. So what I'm going to be doing now is just starting at the front, and I'm going to be going through it really fast and rapidly, and once I think that a frame should stop, I am pausing it and immediately splitting it and taking off the excess, and that way we will get one of those really fast and quick tutorials that I really enjoy. So now that my tutorial is done and I'm really happy with it, I of course want to put some nice music underneath it. I also get a lot of questions always about how I get like my music for my tutorials. Basically what I do, I go onto YouTube and I just look for copyright free music, and there are like YouTube to MP3 converters on the internet, and then I would upload a link to one of those websites and then it will download the MP3 file for me. So I have kind of like a library put together of like music which I like to use for my tutorials. So now I'm just going to be looking like which music may suit like this look the best. Also, when you're putting music underneath a tutorial, it might be nice to have it start in some kind of like a nice way, not just get right into the middle of a song. Find somewhere where a sentence might start or like a beat might drop or whatever. Just try and get the music underneath it nicely and that it suits with the video instead of being kind of like out of tune with the whole thing which you just created. So once I'm done with the video, I would just export it with file and then I would put it onto my iPhone with AirDrop, and that way I can then upload it to Instagram. So that is the whole process of how I edit a video for Instagram. So that is the final tutorial, you guys. I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial of me making an entire Instagram video. This took a long time, so if you would like this video, I would really appreciate it, because I didn't think that it would take the whole freaking day. But honestly, making a single Instagram tutorial, it takes maybe up to 5 to 7 hours for me, and eventually you'll be left with a video of 1 minute, and there has been 5 to 7 hours of work into it. Just sounds so sad when you say it like that. Just know that if you want to get into like this industry, I highly encourage you to. If makeup is your dream and your passion and you want to share your love for makeup and some techniques with other people, definitely do it. Don't get into being like an Instagram influencer or whatever you want to call it just because you want free makeup, you want to get fame, you want to get followers, you want to get money. Because honestly, if you go into this industry for those reasons, you're just simply not going to make it. That's it. And brands will notice when people are in it for the money, and followers will notice when you're in it for the money and you don't really have a passion for makeup or your following. So don't get into this industry that way, because you will just end up unhappy that way. So if you want to get into making Instagram tutorials just because you have a very passionate love for makeup, I would highly encourage you to. If you have taken up any tips and tricks from this video and you decide to make an Instagram tutorial, you can always send it to me through DMs. I would love to see your guys' product and like your view on making a tutorial. I would be really curious and happy to see that. And with all of that being said, just thank you so much for taking the time out of your day again to watch one of my videos. I really appreciate it. And I would really appreciate it if you give this video a like and if you would subscribe to my channel. And then I will see you guys in the next tutorial. Bye!